Good morning. This is our second session on NetFilter framework. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, Dr. Bhatt.
Okay, thanks. So, okay, so let us start. Our agenda today is to just to recap of what we covered in our last session, and then today we will go into the details of the coding, mainly how the hook structure looks like, what are the fields and what are the meaning of those fields, then where the hook functions are there in the kernel network stack, how to register and unregister your own callback functions, and then how the callback function is getting called one after another. So, okay, so let us just to revisit. As we covered in our last session that there are 5 hook points. One is the P routing, then local in, then forward, local out, and post routing. In this area, P routing, local in are for the receive packet. As you can see, the red marks are for the receive packet and the blue marks are for the transmit packet. So once the network interface get the packet, the network interface means from the driver, it could be wireless driver or it could be Ethernet driver. So once it gets the packet and send it to the network stack, the first function in the IP layer, there the hook point, the first hook point in the IP layer is the P routing hook point. So that actually do some checking. If there are some callbacks, so those callbacks will be getting called in this P routing. Before the P routing, only some sanity checkings are done. So after the P routing decision will be made whether the packet will be destined for this particular machine or the packet will be forwarded. Based on that, either the local in hook point will be called or the forward hook point will be called. So, and again in the local, if it is destined for the local in hook point, means if it is destined for the same machine, then after the callbacks of local in hook points are getting called, and if the packets is not dropped according to the local in callback routines, then the packet will be forwarded to the higher layer for further processing. For example, TCP, UDP, for ICMP and all that. And finally, the packet will reach to the application area. On the other hand, if the packet is originated, okay, before going into local out, let us complete the forwarding part. So through the forwarding part, once the packet is getting forwarded from that particular machine, the next hook point it will call is the post routing. So all the callbacks of the post routing will be getting called, and then it will be sent to the lower layer so that that packet is getting transmitted through the hardware. On the other hand, if the packet is originated by the application of that particular machine, then the first hook point that will hit here is the local out. So all the callback functions will be getting called, and once that is done, then the packet will need to be transmitted to the driver. So to do that, we need to decide the routing table to which interface it will be sent and all that. So again, the routing decision is made. After that, the same path will be followed. The same thing that is the post routing, and then the packet will finally be transmitted to the main network interface. I hope there is no question about this slide. This is just a recapitulation of our previous session. But if you have any question, you can ask me in and so the hook points are in the kernel level in a P routing, local in, forward, local out, and post routing. corresponding, there are chains in the user level, particularly IP tables, to which you can register or you can add the IP tables rules. For through those rules, uh, the callbacks are checking whether the packet needs to be dropped or packet needs to be queued to the upper layer and all that, and corresponding action needs to be taken. So this is all we covered in our last session primarily, and with details about the IP tables soon and all that. So let us now start from the next part. So next part is our hook structure. The hook structure looks like this one. So in the kernel, if you check the kernel code in the net filter, that is in the Linux source code net filter, you will see there is a structure called nf_hook_ops. This OPS is for the ops. So this ops is a particular naming convention that Linux, the data structure in all modules follows. For example, the network devices. Yeah, any question? Hello? I hope not. Okay. So this OPS has a special meaning. OPS means this will have some callback function which will be defined by other modules. For example, for the net device structure, we have a net device ops structure also, which will be filled up by the network device driver. It could be Ethernet as well as it could be wireless driver. So again, file operations specific structure that will also end with _OPS structure. So whenever you see any structure in the Linux that ends with OPS, that means it will contain some function pointer or callback routine, which will be filled up by other modules of the Linux. So here there are seven fields are there. The first one is the NF hook function. We will talk about this later. And the next one is the structure net device. This is as I was saying that this is the net device structure to which this packet will be coming out. So corresponding the dev. We usually do not need to populate this one unless you need to have packet on a particular interface, but usually you don't need to do that. The third part is the private pointer. This is also a common concept in all the data structure that we have in the Linux. So if you want to provide any private data in the hook function, you need to populate that in this pre-field. And as the private data structure type is not known to Linux, so that is made as a void pointer. So you can replace it or you can typecast it with your own data structure. Next is the PF field, which is the protocol field. So protocol field, we usually, please hold. No, this time. So protocol family is as we specified during our socket creation, like PFINet or PFINet 6. So similar kind of thing you need to specify here. All our example in this session are based on IPv4. So we have been using it as a PFINet. The next argument is hook number. So this is the hook point that you need to mention whether your callback routine will be called during pre-routing hook position or local in or forward or local out or post routing, that you need to mention here as the hook point, as the hook number. And the last one is the priority. So priority are based on the ascending order. So the highest priority will be called first and the lowest priority will be called last. So based on that, the internal data structure maintain the list of callback routines in the ascending order. And definitely the first is the callback routine. So here is an example that we have shown here. The callback function name is the nf underscore IP address underscore show, and we are adding this callback routine in the pre-routing hook point. This is for IPv4, so we have specified the protocol family as PFINet, and we have specified the priority list as the priority filter +2. So you can specify anything there also. We'll talk about more priority things in a later slide. Any question here? No. Okay. So what is the hook callback function? So this hook, it's a callback function, and please note that the signature of this hook function, that is the nf underscore hook fn, varies from kernel version. So I have been using Linux kernel Ubuntu 16.04. So there possibly Linux 4.4 kernel is running. So this particular prototype is for the Linux version 4.4. It could be different in maybe the latest 5. Version or the earlier 3.6 or 2.6 kernel version. So you need to check against you need to check the kernel version as well as the signature of the hook point function against which you are developing your own kernel model for this callback. So here in this particular example, we can see that there are three parameters. One is the prev, the second is the SKB, and the third is the state. The NF hook state is what is the state of this hook point, and the other two are pretty much obvious. The packet which is coming in this hook function is the SKB, and as I have said that if you are specifying any private data structure in the hook point in the previous slide, then that will be called as well, or that will be supplied as well. Again, the example shown as the NF IP address show, so the signature is something like that. Okay, and then what will be the callback response? Because we have seen that it is returning unsigned int as the return value of the callback function. This is important because based on your return value, or either the next callback routine will be called, or if there is no more callback routine for that particular hook point, then the packet will be processed further to the upper layer or to the lower layer based on which hook point we are talking about. So here is the list of responses that your hook point can provide. The first is the drop. The name is quite obvious. So suppose you have specified your callback routine is checking whether the packet is of type, say, ISMP. If it is ISMP, then you are not entertaining that packet. In that case, you must return from your callback routine as NF drop. That means if you are sending this NF drop, that means the function in the kernel will release all the resources associated with that particular packet, and that SKB will not be forwarded for further processing. The packet will be dropped. The opposite version of this NF drop is the accept part. So something like that, you are allowing allowing this packet to be further processed, whether that packet will be forwarded to the next chain or further callback routines of the same hook point will be called. All are allowed if you are sending response as NF. The third part is a bit tricky, is the NF stolen. So that means the hook point will not call further callbacks. So if suppose in the pre-routing part, say in this area, so in the pre-routing part, there are 5 callbacks in the chain, and your is the third callback. So if the third callback routine returns NF stolen, that means the fourth and fifth callback will not be called further. Also, the packet will not be sent by the uh, network stack. The packet will be taken care by the callback routine itself. But the difference between drop and stolen is in the drop, in case of drop, all the resources associated with the SKB is getting released. But in case of stolen, those are not getting released. That is the difference between drop and stolen. Q is usually for packet processing at the user level. You may heard about the two very famous uh, packet inspection tool. One is the Suricata and the other is Snot. They are actually inspecting each and every packet, and based on some signature of the Suricata or some signature of the Snot, either the packet is getting dropped or some alert message has been sent to your device that some malware is getting access. So you need to take care of that one. So those kind of things, Suricata or Snot is heavily dependent on this Q part. So in this case, again, the resource is not getting freed. The packet is copied to the user space. Now the user space, sorry. One moment, my screen share has been somehow dropped. What happens? I guess you are not being able to see my screen.
Yeah, we can only see your name.
Okay, okay. Please wait. Yeah. Hopefully now you can see.
Yes.
So yes, so as we are saying that the NF2 is for that part. The repeat is a very complex in the sense that it can make the system in a deadlock kind of thing or stall kind of thing, because if you are returning NF repeat, that means that hook point will be called again. So be careful about doing that. I have not seen this NF repeat to be used in a callback function very frequently. So please return is very careful. NF stop is also terminate the hook chain and for the processing without, but again, the difference between stop and drop is that the SKB data is not getting released. Just the further processing of further callback root chain in the same chain will be postponed or will be stopped. So these are the callback routine response that your callback function can provide. And this is about the priority. As I have said already, that the callback function are getting called in the ascending order of the priority. This is the enumeration of the priority values. The first is the NFIP priority first, so that is the highest priority. If you are specifying your callback function as the NFIP priority first, then that will be called first. Okay, and again, as I have shown in my example, that I'm applying NFIP priority filter plus 2. So this is in this layer. Yes, in the 0, as you can see. So usually what happens, all the system defined priority, system defined callback routines having value less than 0 other than the connection track and NAT. So usually it is recommended to define priority of your callback routine more than 0, but it is not mandatory. So if your requirement is that your callback first must be called first before any checking by existing callback routines, you can specify the priority field as NFIP priority first. So in that case, your callback routine will be called first, and then other will be called. So this is all about hook structure. If you have any query, we can discuss. Otherwise, we will move to our next point. Any query?
No.
So then let us check the hook positions in the Linux standard network. So the first hook point we all know is the pre-routing. This is for the incoming packets only. For outgoing packet, this hook point is not called, or the whatever callback functions associated with this hook point are not getting called. So let me show my Linux machine here. Can you see my Linux machine?
Yes, we can.
So this IP receive function is you can expect, or you can think as the first entry function of the layer 3. Okay, so that means in the lower layer, if that is the L2 bridge layer or anything else, so that will call this particular IP receive function, provided the packet is for the IPv4 packet. Otherwise, IP6 underscore receive function will be called. So we are not talking about that one, but the concept is same. So here you can see that initially some checkings are getting done. Okay, whether the sanity checkings are okay or not, SQ related part, and then the IP header related sanity checking is done. Once that is done and the IP layer is more or less satisfied with the packet or with the IP header of the received packet, then the hook point is getting called, this one. So if you want to have your own hook point, I'm not talking about your own callback routines, I'm talking about your own hook point. So if you want to, so something like NF INET pre-routing, you want to have your own something like NF INET LK. So if you want to do something like that, then you need to call this NF hook function at the particular position of this layer in the IP in the L3. So this is already defined. So that means whatever function or whatever callbacks you are registering at the NF inet pre-routing hook point, those will be called from this position. And after all the callbacks are getting called, then the IP receive function will be called. So between IP receive and the IP receive function, all the callbacks in the pre-routing chain or hook point will be called in the ascending order of the priority list of the callback function. Say before IP receive, you want to call another hook point. You want to define your own hook point. Okay. So in that case, what you can do, you can specify in this way. Suppose I'm just giving the example, but this is not the way you should do because this is already a same hook point in the same place. But just for example, I'm showing you. So say my IPC function. So that means, and this tool, this part is, so you have your own hook point. You have defined your own hook point in the kernel. And please note that in order to do so, you need to recompile the kernel. But to register or unregister your callback routines in Linux with the existing hook points, you do not need to compile the Linux kernel. So that is the difference of creating a new hook point or adding a new callback function in the existing hook point. You got my point? Or have any doubt?
Yeah, got it.
So again, in the IP receive function, so in the IP receive function, you need to call this one, this line. So that means in the so when the packet is entering into the IP receive, first all the callbacks will be called which are associated with NF inet my pre-routing hook point, and then it will call after those callbacks are getting called, then my IP receive function, IP receive finish function will be called. In the my IP receive function finish function, all the callbacks of the pre-routing hook point will be called, and then IP receive finish will be called. So here this example is not giving any meaningful part, but I'm just giving you the framework how you can add your own hook point. Okay. Okay. So let us go back to the slide now. You can see my slide as well, right? Or you can't? Hello? Can you see my slides also?
I can able to see your kernel code only.
Okay, okay.
I have a question here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you said if we want to call our own hooks or callbacks of our own hooks like NFINet LK. We need to do some changes in some other part also, I think so. because we need to register that also, or
Yes,
is
yes, yes, yes. This macro is not defined because
so
this macro is unknown. So you need to define here also. So this is you need to create here, say nf underscore inet underscore lkf. You need to create this one also. You are talking about this one, right?
yeah.
Yes. So this one is also required because otherwise it will get a compression error.
Okay, and okay, got it. That's it.
Okay. Let me then go back to the slide. Okay. So as I've shown you that it is in the IP receive function, is only for the incoming packet, and it is usually called as we have not usually it is as I've shown you, but after doing some sanity checking whether the checksums of the IP header are correct or not, and if the IP header is there or not. So some basic testing is done. After that, the callback of these hook points are getting called. After the callback is are called, then the routing decision is made, as we have seen in our part here. Here. So after all the callbacks are called, then the routing decision is made. And obviously, this is the first hook point to which incoming packet is passed. So if this pre-routing is dropping the packet, then no other hook point will be called. So also there is a performance impact if you are adding your callback routines or IP tables rules in the pre-route. Suppose you are adding your IP tables rule just to your goal is to, if the packet is only for your host, then only the IP tables rules will be inspected. Otherwise not, then pre-routing is not the place where you should add your callback routines or add your IP tables rules. You must do that in the local in. So pre-routing is for the common for both the forwarding as well as for the local in. So next is the local in. This is also for the incoming packets, and after the routing decision made, then this local in is getting called, and after all the callback functions of the local in is called, then it will be if any of the callback function does not return any, say, NF drop or NF queue, then the packet will be sent to the upper layer for further processing. I will show you the source code of this one also. But let us first complete this one, or we can check it here. Right. And this is in the same function IP local delete. IP. So again, this is same. Okay. Next is the forward part. So this is also for the incoming packet, not for the outgoing packet. So according to the routing decision, if the packet is sent for another interface to outside your machine, then the callback of all these callback of this hook point will be called, and then as we have shown earlier, that it will be forwarded to the post routing. The local out is the only hook point among the five hook point where there are three different positions, because the packet can be sent from a from three different positions. I'm not going into the details of this, but if you go through the source code of the Linux kernel, you may understand that IP output have a three different path of sending the packet to the lower layer. So in three different, so in the all the three different path, this local out hook point is there, so that each and every packet which is going out from your machine is going through the local out hook point. So this is obviously for the outgoing packet, and the difference between the main point is the packet must be originated in your machine, and this is called before the routing decision is made. And the last hook point is the post routing. So after that, the packet will be forwarded to the lower layer, the driver, the network driver. So this is all about our hook position in the kernel. If you have any question, you can ask. No question? Okay. So next is to how to write your own callback function and register it to the system. So here we have given an example of using local out hook point, but that is valid for all other hook position also. So primarily there are, means as we are talking about only the IPv4, so we have not mentioned other fields of the hook structure. So those are same. So the only difference, the hook number is also same. So the only difference are the function name or the callback routines and their priority. I'm assuming that there is no private part or the interface specific part. So in that case, usually if it is so is minus value, that means it will have the higher priority than the other one, and the more you have in the positive side, then that means it will have the lower priority. So when you so this sorting is getting done when you are registering the function. So after that, when the callbacks are getting called, it is just traverse the list and call one by one. Okay, so sorting of the linked list according to the priority value is maintained in the when you are registering the callback, and the registering routing is called NF register net hook. So through which you can register your callback, and similarly there is a counterpart of that function which is NF unregister net hook, through which you can unregister your callback. So that means that will be deleted from the link. So this is how it looks like if you are thinking about the local out hook point. Any question here? Is pretty much straightforward. Okay, now let us check about the how this NF register net hook looks like. This is quite simple if you are familiar with a linked list programming in the even if in the user space. So what it does, please note that this function is common for all the hook points. So whether you are registering your callback function in the pre-routing or local in or forward or any other hook points, you need to call this particular function. So that means the first thing that it needs to do to find out whether this callback function is for the hook number 1 or hook number 2 or hook number 11. So that is getting done through this function called nf find hook list. Okay, so let us first check nf find hook list. So here you can see it is just checking whether this is a netdef kind of, not netdef kind of thing. Then it will check the hook list. So that means we have 5 arrays for the hooks. So as earlier I showed you that you can create your own hook point as nf inet lkf. In that case, not only you need to create a new macro called nf inet lkf, but you need to add a new member in this data structure as well. So here and this data structure is not only for every hook point, but also for each and every protocol field or profile, protocol family. So that means if you try to visualize the NF hooks data structure, it will be a multi-dimensional array of callback routines, or not only callback routines, it is a multi-dimensional array of hook structure. So that means if we think about only say IPv4 and IPv6, then these hooks will have 2 parameters, means 2 rows. One is for the IPv4 and the other is for IPv6. And each IPv4 and IPv6 will have 5 number of hook points. So if you want to add your new hook points, then that will be created in the second part of that. So as you have already specified the hook number in the hook structure, from that it can determine that to which hook point you are trying to register your callback to. It's pretty much simple. Now, once that is done, so it may happen that say if you have without adding the nf inet lkf, you are trying to register a callback routine for the nf inet lkf. In that case, hook list will be null. Otherwise, you will get the corresponding hook list on which you are trying to add your new callback routines. Now, this is typically a critical section area, the hook list, because on the on one part you are calling the you are adding your callback routines, and for the receive packets or for the outgoing packets, the same hook list is getting accessed. So this has to be done in a critical section area. So for that, they actually log the getting the lock, mutex lock, and then traverse the hook list. And then, as you can see, if my priority is less than the other one, then I am adding my part into that list. So typically adding your own node in a linked list of it in a sorted link, and then you unlock the mutation variable so that this critical section can be accessed in other areas. Any doubt? No. I'm quite surprised that there is no question. Okay. So next is the NF unregistered net hooks. This is quite the opposite of the previous one. So it is just checking whether your callback routines is in the hook list or not. If it is, then it is just deleting that from the chain of the link. That is all. So you can go through so here again we are trying to find out the hook list based on the hook number, and then we are just checking the function. If it is there, then we are just deleting that from the link list. So that is all. Okay. So that is all about register and unregistered callback. Now let us check the traversal of the callback. So as we have already mentioned that if the packet is entering in the network hook, then say here we have given the example of for the pre-routing hook point. So and we are expecting, say there are four callback routines are there. So if, or maybe more. So if any of them saying returning that means any of the callback routines in the chain returning that the action is NF dropped, then the packet will be dropped and all the resources will be freed. Otherwise, the next callback routine will be called. And if all the callback routines given the verdict that NF accept, then the packet will be processed further in the network. So that is all about the net filter. The only part remaining for today's session is the going through the source code and creating your own callback and checking the packets and all. If you have any query, you can ask. Okay. So no query. Let me then share my Linux. Please wait. So here's the first example. You all must be familiar with the kernel modules, I hope. If you do not have any idea, then we will go to the makefile. Otherwise, there is no point in going to the makefile. Anyone here who is not familiar with the kernel modules? No. Fine. Then simply jump into the code. This code is actually showing the source IP and the destination IP, nothing else. It is very straightforward, just to showing you that how you can specify the hook points there. So as we have shown in the PPT also, here we are just registering the hook point with my own structure. This structure is defined here. So here is the hook point and the hook number, I am adding my callback function in the pre-routing part and for the IPv4. And if you can see the callback routine, this is the callback routine. In case I'm not blocking or dropping any packet, I'm allowing every packet for the for further processing. We are just checking what is the source IP and the destination IP. Some checking is required, something like here. I'm not putting some more checking is here, something like that. It should be checked. If you are doing a proper implementation, then this sort of checking you must do. And then we are just displaying the source IP and the destination IP. Any question about the source code? Otherwise, I will give you a short demo of how it is going. It is running in my system. No, fine. So, oh, define it. I will define it. So now, so let us first check what is shown in the kernel. So just the hook register is up. Okay. Now you can see that packets are getting sent from my machine to the other. So this is the virtual box which is connected to the Windows, and this Windows is connected to the router. So lots of packet is going in between. But if it is in your end one of the end device without the virtual machine, then this will be the packet you can see. Okay. But point to be noted that we are not getting any packet for which the source IP is 10.0.2.15. Say, what is my machine's IP? 10.0.2.15. So we are not seeing any packet whose source IP address is 10.0.2.15 and destination IP address is this. This is because we have registered our callback in the pre-routing. So that means whatever response we are getting from the Google, we are displaying the IP address of those packets. So these are all for the receive packet for my machine, not the outgoing packet or transmitted packet from my machine. If you want to check that also, you can specify the hook point, modifying this pre-routing with the post-routing, then that will serve the purpose. And there may be one doubt that whether we can have only one single callback routine from a kernel module or multiple. Yes, you can have multiple callback routines, no problem. So you need to have your different data structure for this, different instance of this NF hookups, and you need to call that particular hooks again by calling this function again. But there is another function in the kernel which is called NF register net hooks. So this is similar to this one, but just it will call the function in loop. Here you can see. So you are specifying the structure, and then you are specifying the number of callback that need to register. So you can do this in this way also, or you can do this by calling this NF hook register, NF register net hook individually one after another from your kernel module. This is pretty much simple, but still, if you have any doubt, you can ask. Any query? No.
So, question in the output, the source IP.
Source IP.
Can you show me the output?
Yes.
Yeah, the source IP is so when you did a ping, you did a ping. What did you ping actually? Which IP address?
Sorry, I didn't get your question properly.
No, the source IP address corresponds to which machine? I mean, from where are you getting the source IP address?
Whatever packet I am receiving, my machine is receiving, I am displaying the IP address from the packet.
Right. So when you did a ping, that is the when your machine is receiving a ping reply. Is that when you're receiving the ping reply?
Yes.
Okay. So that's so which IP address you are trying to ping?
We are trying to ping the Google. So.
Okay. Yeah. Google.com.
So now it is 172. It has been changed, but earlier it was 142 something.
Okay. So now in the D message we will see there's 172.217.
Yes, but now as I have deleted the packet, sorry, the kernel module. But yes, you can see that also. But
okay. Now you remove the.
Yes. But not only the IP address. Means my point is not the showing the IP address. My point is to show you how you can check the packet in the receive path or any other path. It does not mean that you need to check the packet at the receive path. So that is my point. So here you have IP header, and actually, although the layer architecture is not saying that not accessing the TCP header or the upper layer header, but in a optimization code you can actually check the TCP header also or the UDP header. Means the protocol field you can also check here. It is not recommended because that should be done in the upper layer. But still, if you want to check whether the packet is TCP, so you want to check, you want to block all the UDP packet of say port number 5001. So in that case, you have to inspect the UDP header of the receive packet or the outgoing packet. It means at whatever hook point you are registering your callback, that's a different case. So if you want to check whether the packet containing UDP packet and the port number is 5001, then after, so in that case, I think I have some example of this also. Let me, but here also, if you check, so if it is IP header, so then you need to check if the IP header protocol is UDP or not. There is a macro for that, so you need to check that, and then you need to specify the UDP header also, something like that. And then you need to point.
You have a typo.
Yeah.
You have a typo.
Sorry. So you need to point that also. Say UDP header. So now you will get the UDP header from the packet, and then you can inspect whether the port number is 5001 or not. If it is 5001, you can return from here as NF drop. So that means that packet will be dropped. For the incoming packet. So this way you can specify your own callback and inspect the packet. Not only drop or allow the packet, you can modify the packet as well. Because this callback is getting called with the original version of the SKB. It is not like that the SKB is getting cloned and you are getting a copy of the SKB, which you can use for the displaying or any statistics. It's not like that. You are getting the only copy of the SKB. So whatever modification you are doing in the packet, it will remain there. So say if the packet is getting forwarded, and so suppose you are implementing some proxy kind of thing, some UDP proxy kind of. So if the port number is 5001, you are actually modifying the port number from 5001 to say 5002 for some reason. So that kind of thing also you can do here. Okay. Do you get the answer that you are looking for?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let me check then the next program. This is almost same, but the difference is we are making it in the out, not in the input. And here one thing is different is that I have specified the protocol family as IPv4. The macro value is same. The PF inet macro value is 2, and as well as this NF NF proto IPv4. Let us see. So this is 2, and if you check here, this is also 2. So you can specify this part also. It doesn't matter. Okay. And then it is just displaying the source IP and the destination IP the same way that we have shown for the PP routing. The only difference is it is now showing the in the transmit part. So let us check. Is there. So now you can see now the reverse part. So now the source IP is my IP address and the destination IP is this. So this is same thing as the previous example. The only difference is the hook position.
Oh, because we have it to the outgoing.
Yes. My hook point is now in the out, local out.
Okay.
So that is why. So that is that is what you need to keep in mind, that at what information that you are looking for. If you are looking for all the packets which are going out from your machine and which are originated by your machine, then you must register your callback at the local out. On the other hand, if you want to check of all the packets going out from your machine, irrespective of whether the packet is originated by you or someone else, then local out is not the hook point position that you must register your callback. You must do that in the post route. Okay. Or any doubt still? Okay, I believe we do not have any doubt. So let us then check that hard one. But again, just to going back to that program, the other part is quite simple, right? There's nothing else that you need to worry about. Say now you want to block it. Say I want to block a packet for the ICM, not for the TCP or UDP. So I will allow TCP packet or UDP packet, but I will not allow any ICMP packet coming to my machine. Another difference from this program and the other program, let me open that program. Here, we have mentioned the instance of the structure as a global in the kernel module and specify that so that, please wait. Yes. So the other difference is that I am not specifying this. Yes. I am not specifying this as a global structure. Instead of that, I have mentioned it as a local variable and allocating the memory dynamic. Means there are a couple of pros and cons, but we're not going into that part. Just to show you that means someone may assume that that is the only way of defining your structure in the kernel module by making it as a global variable, but that is not the case. You can specify this to this malloc part also. But yes, this NF black ops needs to be global. That is true. There is no other way of doing that. Okay, so here what we have done, we have allocating it dynamically and then specify the values of the hook structure one after another as we have did earlier. And now we want to block all the ICMP packet of in the pre-routing hook point. So we have mentioned this priority field as the NF priority first. Why you are doing so? I mean, what is the advantage of doing so or not? why we are mentioning is as the NF IP priority first. We can make it as a NF IP priority last also. Any idea? If do we have any advantage of doing this or not?
Uh, because we are going to drop the packets which are coming to our host.
Mm-hmm.
So 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 you mentioned you are registering the handler to the pre-routing.
Mm-hmm.
And avoiding further processing of packet which is dropped in the first handle.
I do not get your last point.
You are avoiding the processing of further because you are dropping in the pre-routing chain, so there is no need of processing forwarding the packet to further callbacks.
No, that is fine. That is why we are mentioning it in the pre-routing hook point.
I'm saying, yeah, in the for the pre-routing also there will be many callbacks, right?
Yes.
So if our callback is the first callback, then the packet will not go to the second and for the remaining callbacks.
Yes. So that is the main point of, say there are 5 callbacks in the same hook point. So there is no advantage, or there is no point of going through all the existing callbacks if the packet is ISM. That will unnecessarily degrade the performance. So if you want to drop anything and you want to do that and you are not dependent on any other kernel modules, means that may in some case it may happen that in some hook or one of the callbacks of one of the hooks may modify the packet, and after that you need to check the packet, and then based on the packet consent you will decide whether we need to drop the packet or allow the packet. If that is not the case, irrespective of, means you are not depending on the packet modification, you are checking the original packet and you are dropping the packet on based on some criteria, then it is better to make it as the first fallback routine of that particular hook point. So now let us check the hook function. I'm just showing you, as we are talking about the UDP header, I'm just showing you that if the destination UDP packet, destination port of the UDP packet is 53, then we may drop it. So if we make drop here, that means the DNS will not be resolved. 53 is for the DNS, so the DNS will not be resolved. And so, but actually I have just shown it for the example, and for the ISMP we're dropping it. Okay, so let us now check the output. The ping is not working. But if you can see that if you drop the see, now again let us do that. I'm showing you this example because it is not that after installing the module, then only if you run the ping program, then ICMP will be dropped. It's not like that. It is checking every packet after you installing your kernel module. Again, if you are remove the kernel module, the ping will start working. So I have just shown you the example with the ICMP. You can now, as I've told you, that you can now inspect the packet, and based on the criteria, you can either drop the packet or accept the packet. Any doubt about this one or any question? No.
Actually, we can drop the packets without this kernel module also, right? Just with the IP table tool.
Sorry?
We can drop packets, these ICMP packets, even with IP table by adding a IP table rule to the input chain.
Yes, actually internally it is doing in this way.
Yeah.
I'm showing you the internal details of the IP table.
Okay.
So actually here means what is the difference, that you have a predefined rule in the kernel. Is what is the advantage of having the IP tables? Is that you can dynamically add or remove or modify IP tables rules.
Yeah.
Based on that, this kernel module will behave. In this case, suppose you want to now allow the ICMP packet, then you need to either remove the kernel module or modify the kernel module. So that is not a good way of doing that. But suppose you need to have a different hook point, and for your callback, yes, this is the way you can do that.
Yeah.
But same thing you can achieve through IP tables as well. The internally it is doing in this way.
Okay.
So I'm showing you the internal details of that.
Okay.
Now the last one. The last one is as we are talking about that the Suricata and Snort, they actually take the packet at the user level and inspect the packet based on some criteria, and then either drop the packet or allow the packet. So let us first check the code. So let us first. This is the user space program. It is nothing, not doing anything much, just displaying whatever information it is getting from the packet, nothing else. So just showing the IP address in the kernel modules. Instead of kernel modules, we are now showing the IP address in the user level. But one interesting point is there. During run, I will show you. And in the kernel space, if the protocol is ICMP, we are sending the NF2 instead of the NF drop or NF accept. So all the ICMP packet will be now sent to the user space program. And it is not processed in the kernel level or the network stack. Okay. So if that is the case, then let us compile it. No. I hope there is no module. So sudo install. Oh, sorry. I need to run it as a sudo. Yeah. Now see. See, it can now show the information of same thing. We are specifying this as a in the pre-routing phase. So one important thing is to note that let us close the application. Now you can see you will not get any response in the ping packet, right? So this is very important to observe or notice is that if you are sending the packet, means you are returning the value as NFQ from your callback routine, then there must be someone who will receive the packet from the queue and further process the packet and then give the either so that the packet can be processed further. Otherwise, the packet is not getting processed, but we are keep on sending packet. So that may sometime exhaust all the resources of your C system, and your C system may drop, collapse. So that is very important point, that whenever you are sending the packet as NFQ, there must be one counterpart who is receiving the packet from the same. You can specify the queue number. By default, the queue number is 0. As you can see at the beginning, that this is binding to the socket 0. It's called socket to the queue 0. But you can specify the queue number as 1, 2, 3, and all that. So let us now go through the code a little bit. What happened? So this part is quite simple. I think you do not have any query about this part. This is for IPv4 packet. We are talking about in the local in, and then we are sending the ICMP packet to the user level process or further process. This is simple. There is nothing much to discuss about it here. On the other hand, if you are checking about the user space program, there is a lot to discuss. This is the NFQ kind of thing. So kind of socket, you create the socket program. So similarly, if you want to receive any packet from the NFQ, you need to open a handler, and this is what you are doing that. So for that, you need to have the NFQ library also. Live net filter queue library is need to be installed in your machine. And then you are unbinding any AF INET related things which are already there. This is not required if you are running it for the first time. Then you are binding your handler to the IPv4, and you are waiting for the Q0. So if in the kernel modules, there are multiple kernel modules. One is sending the ICMP packet at Q1. The other kernel module is sending TCP packet say Q2. Then you need to mention here to which queue you are trying to listen, whether 0 or 1 or 2. By default, kernel module send the packet to the Q0. Okay. Okay. So this is the basic concept. Now let us then you are getting the packet through the same through which the socket function works. So similar way, this handler is also works. So you are just converting the handler to the file descriptor so that you can get the packet from the kernel. And once you get the packet, you can handle the packet. This is simple. So this is a standard API of the NFQ library. So once that is done, then you can inspect the packet. This is the callback routine you have registered. Here, you have registered the callback routine. So once the packet is received, this callback function will call, and then you will get the packet. And again, say you are now returning the verdict whether you need to drop the packet or accept the packet. Here I have accept all the packets. So that is why earlier you can see the positive response of the ping. If we have specify here as a NF drop, then the packet will be dropped. So now the verdict is on the user space program, not in the kernel. So Suricata is developed based on this particular model. It's a huge framework. If you are interested in getting know how this packet is getting processed and all that, you must check the Suricata. It's a fantastic model to have. But definitely, this kind of solution has a major performance impact. So Suricata also has a performance impact, although it is doing in a multi-threaded environment, so making it less impact on the performance, but still there is an impact in the performance, definitely, because you are now processing the packet not in the kernel space but in the user space. So there is a context switch from kernel to user, and that will take some time, and that will make an impact on the performance as well. And then you are doing the action, taking the action whether the packet needs to be dropped or allowed. But this is one of the way, one of the uses of NetFilter hooks of the NF. So that is all about this NetFilter sessions. If you have any query, we can discuss. Otherwise, we are done here.
Is there going to be any session on connection tracking?
No, we do not have any more planning in continuing the NetFilter and connection track as of now.
Can you just take one IP tables command and then all the way map it from the user space to the kernel module?
You mean to say that adding a IP tables rules from the user level and process the packet based on that IP tables rules?
Right. I mean, so let's say if I configure IP table rules, first it is received in the user space, and then it is. So it is how it is mapped from the user space all the way to the kernel module, and then how the action takes place. I mean, from the user space to the kernel space. Is it? Can you just? I don't know. Maybe the next time. I mean, if you can just run through one example.
No, I can give you the theoretical part here, not the practical part, because I do not have the code at this moment with me. So if you want to know that, I can give it now. That's not a problem. But if you want to see how the code is getting implemented, that will take some time, because I need to go through the code once again.
Okay.
So yeah. So what it does. So if you checked about the kernel modules, say you have defined your own kernel module. So here, what will be the difference? The difference is that we have specified what kind of, not this one. Let us check this one. So here we have hard coded the rule is that if the packet is the protocol type is ISMP, then we are dropping the packet. But instead of that, someone also said that we can achieve that through the IP tables also. So what it does, when you are adding a IP tables rule, you are specifying the rule criteria that based on, see, if the packet is ISMP, then what will be the action and all that. Also, you are mentioning at what table or at what hook point or at what chain you want to add that IP table, right? So table is by default filter, and then you can specify the chain either in local or forward or output or something like that, correct? So internally, what it happens, it actually maintain a data structure of IP tables rules.
Okay.
So, and when the callback function is called, it will go through that particular set of rules of that data structure, and based on that, it takes that. So that is the only difference from this kernel modules and the IP tables. Nothing else.
Okay.
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 Okay, then if anyone have any query, otherwise you can close the session.
So this is the last session.
Yes.
Okay.
As of now, this is the last session because we are going to NetFilter, NetLink for a couple of months for now. So, but there will be few more webinar very recently. Please keep an eye on them. But that will be on different topics. But definitely on the Linux kernel and network.
Okay. Any plans of I mean there will be any session on IPsec or something in future?
IPsec.
Yeah.
See, at this moment we have plans of doing, means we are planned of covering couple of important things in the kernel,
Okay.
networking perspective, maybe the driver and all that. But IPsec is not in the list as of now.
Okay.
If there is any demand, because IPsec is a very specific part, specific area, you are interested, I can understand, but maybe many of us or many of you are not interested because IPsec may not be required for them. So we are trying to cover as much common areas as much possible. Then if there is a demand for any specific particular area, then we can cover that.
Okay.
Okay then.
So one thing, will you be sharing this recording and this sample code somewhere?
I will check with the admin and then get back to you. I'm
Okay.
not sure if those are shared or not.
Sure, no problem. Thanks.
Okay then. Thank you for your time. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you.